The discovery that changed everything. The mining station floated silently in the darkness between stars, a small metal dot against the endless black. Captain Marcus Chin stood at the observation window, watching his crew work outside. They were harvesting ice from a dead comet, turning frozen water into fuel and life support. It was boring work, but honest work. Nobody expected anything to go wrong. The station had been operational for 8 months. 32 humans lived there, rotating shifts, eating freeze-dried meals, and counting the days until they could return to Earth. They were miners, not soldiers. Engineers, not explorers. They wanted paychecks, not adventure. But the universe had different plans. It started with a signal. Not the usual radio chatter or automated beacon, but something else entirely. The communications officer, a young woman named Sarah Park, noticed it first during her night shift. A pattern buried in the background radiation, repeating every 47 seconds. She almost dismissed it as interference, but something made her stop. The pattern was too perfect, too deliberate. Sarah called Marcus to the communications room. He arrived still wearing his sleep clothes, annoyed at being woken up. But when he saw the data on her screen, his annoyance turned to disbelief. The signal wasn't random. It was mathematical, elegant, and unmistakably artificial. Someone or something was out there, and they were broadcasting. Marcus made the decision that would change humanity forever. He ordered the crew to trace the signal's origin. They turned the station's sensors toward the source, a region of space they had always assumed was empty. What they found made their blood run cold. A structure hung in the void, massive beyond comprehension. It wasn't a ship or a station. It was a city, floating free in space, built from materials that shouldn't exist. The structure was beautiful and terrifying. Towers spiraled upward into nothing, connected by bridges of light that defied physics. Gardens grew in vacuum, plants that glowed with their own internal radiance. And everywhere, movement. Ships came and went like insects around a hive, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. This wasn't a first contact scenario. This was proof that humans were children playing in a universe owned by others. Marcus knew he should report back to Earth immediately. He knew the smart thing was to stay quiet, observe from a distance, and let the governments decide what to do next. But curiosity is a powerful force, and humans have never been good at resisting it. He made another decision, one that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He sent a greeting message toward the structure, a simple mathematical sequence followed by images of Earth and its people. The response came within minutes. Not words, not images, but action. 3 ships detached from the floating city and moved toward the mining station with impossible speed. They crossed the distance in seconds, defying everything humans understood about physics and acceleration. The ships were elegant, curved like seashells, and they radiated power that made the station's sensors scream in protest. Marcus ordered everyone into the escape pods. There was no discussion, no debate. Survival became the only priority. The crew moved with practiced efficiency, sealing suits, grabbing emergency supplies, and strapping into the small craft that would carry them away from danger. But they weren't fast enough. The alien ships arrived before half the crew could evacuate. What happened next would be debated for years. The aliens didn't attack with weapons or violence. Instead, they simply stopped the station from functioning. Power died. Life support ceased. Communications went silent. It was surgical, precise, and absolutely terrifying. The aliens had taken control of human technology without even trying, as if shutting down the station was no more difficult than turning off a light. 15 escape pods launched into the darkness, carrying 21 humans to safety. The other 11 crew members were trapped inside the station, alive but helpless. Marcus was among those who escaped, a fact that would torment him forever. He watched through the pod's small window as the alien ship surrounded the station, studying it like scientists examining an interesting insect. The escape pods scattered in different directions, following emergency protocols designed for disasters that involved explosions or equipment failure, not alien intervention. Marcus's pod traveled for 3 days before being picked up by an Earth Patrol ship. The others took longer to find. 2 pods were never recovered. The people inside simply vanished into the infinite dark, their fate unknown. When Marcus finally stood before Earth's military commanders and told his story, he expected disbelief or accusations of insanity. Instead, he found grim acceptance. The commanders had known. Not about the floating city or the specific aliens who had disabled the station, but about the larger truth. Humanity wasn't alone, wasn't special, and wasn't safe. The galaxy was crowded with ancient civilizations, and humans had just stumbled into their territory like children wandering into a battlefield. The 11 crew members left behind on the station remained alive. The aliens kept them in comfortable captivity, studying them with detached curiosity. They were fed, given air to breathe, and otherwise ignored. But they weren't released. They became samples, specimens of a new species that had appeared in controlled space without permission or understanding of the rules they had broken. Earth's governments moved quickly after Marcus's report. The truth couldn't be hidden, not when escape pods were still being recovered and families were demanding answers about their missing loved ones. The news spread across every nation within hours. Humanity wasn't alone. The stars weren't empty. And somewhere out there, powerful beings had taken human prisoners for reasons nobody understood. The age of innocence had ended. The age of survival had begun. Humanity learns the rules. The first diplomatic mission left Earth 6 weeks after the mining station incident. It consisted of 3 ships carrying linguists, scientists, diplomats, and a full military escort. The mission's goal was simple: make contact with the aliens who had taken the 11 crew members, negotiate their release, and establish peaceful relations. Nobody expected it to be easy, but they had hope. Humans had always been good at talking their way through problems. The mission never reached the floating city. 2 days after entering the region where the alien structure had been detected, all 3 ships lost contact with Earth simultaneously. Search and rescue operations found only debris, scattered across thousands of kilometers of empty space. The ships had been disassembled, torn apart with such precision that investigators couldn't determine if it had been weapons or something else entirely. No bodies were recovered. No survivors found. 68 more humans had simply ceased to exist. Earth's response was immediate and brutal. If diplomacy wouldn't work, then force would have to suffice. The military launched what they called Operation Open Hand, a massive show of strength designed to prove that humanity couldn't be pushed around or ignored. 12 warships, the most powerful vessels humans had ever built, jumped into the contested region with weapons armed and shields at maximum. They broadcasted demands in every language humans knew, insisting on the return of captured crew members and respect for human sovereignty. The alien response was educational. The warships lasted 17 minutes. Not because they were destroyed, but because they were simply switched off. Power systems failed. Weapons refused to fire. Life support continued functioning, but everything else stopped working. The warships drifted helplessly while alien vessels approached, examined them with scanning beams that felt like cold fingers, and then left. The human ships were eventually recovered by rescue operations, but the message was clear. Humanity's best weapons were toys compared to what existed in the galaxy. Commander Rachel Torres was aboard one of those warships. She had been a pilot for 15 years, had flown in 3 different wars, and considered herself unshakable. But floating helpless in the dark while alien ships circled like sharks had broken something inside her. When she returned to Earth, she didn't retire or seek therapy. Instead, she demanded assignment to a new project that was just beginning. If humans couldn't match alien technology, they would have to become smarter, faster, and more ruthless. The project was called Ember Protocol. Its purpose was simple but difficult: study everything humanity knew about the aliens, find weaknesses, and develop strategies that didn't rely on technological superiority. Rachel became one of its lead strategists, working 18-hour days analyzing every scrap of data from the encounters. She watched the footage of disabled ships over and over, looking for patterns or mistakes. She studied the way alien vessels moved, the way they communicated, the way they seemed to treat humans with the casual indifference of adults dealing with misbehaving children. What Rachel discovered changed everything. The aliens weren't trying to exterminate humanity. They were enforcing rules that humans didn't know existed. The galaxy operated according to laws that had been established millions of years ago by civilizations so old their names had been forgotten. These laws governed everything: which species could claim which territories, how conflicts were resolved, what technologies were forbidden, and how new species were integrated into the galactic community. Humanity had broken these laws through simple ignorance. The mining station had been built in controlled space without permission. The greeting message had used protocols reserved for recognized civilizations. The warships had entered restricted zones with active weapons, an act considered declaration of war under galactic law. Every human action had been interpreted as aggression or criminal trespass, and the aliens had responded accordingly. They weren't monsters. They were police enforcing regulations that made perfect sense to everyone except the humans who had never learned them. Rachel brought her findings to Earth's United Council, a new governing body formed from representatives of every nation. She expected relief that humanity wasn't facing extinction. Instead, she found anger and frustration. The council members hated the idea that humans were being treated like criminals for crimes they didn't know were possible. They hated that the galaxy operated according to rules nobody had bothered to explain. And they especially hated that humanity's fate rested in the hands of beings who saw them as little more than troublesome newcomers. But Rachel also brought hope. If the aliens were following laws, then those laws could be learned. If humanity was being punished for breaking rules, then following those rules might bring safety. She proposed a radical plan: instead of fighting or hiding, humanity should seek membership in the galactic community. Learn the laws, follow the protocols, and earn the right to exist among the stars as equals rather than trespassers. The council debated for 3 days. Some members argued for isolation, pulling back to Earth's solar system and abandoning expansion into space. Others demanded continued military buildup, insisting that strength was the only language the aliens would understand. But eventually, Rachel's plan won majority support. Humanity would try to join the galaxy properly, through whatever process existed for such things. Finding that process proved challenging. The aliens who had disabled human ships and captured crew members refused all communication attempts. They simply ignored every message, every signal, every effort at contact. It was as if humanity didn't exist at all. Weeks turned into months with no progress. The 11 original captives remained imprisoned. The destroyed ships were never explained. And Earth's people grew increasingly desperate for answers. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A commercial freighter operating near the edge of Earth's solar system detected a small alien probe passing through the region. Instead of running or attacking, the freighter's captain made a bold choice. She matched course with the probe, attached a physical message container to its hull using magnetic clamps, and let it continue on its way. The message inside was simple: we want to learn. We want to follow your rules. Please teach us. 3 months later, a response arrived. Not a message, but a visitor. A single alien ship appeared in orbit around Earth without warning, its arrival causing panic across the planet. But this ship didn't attack or disable anything. Instead, it broadcast a simple instruction in multiple human languages: send one representative to these coordinates. They will learn what is required. The coordinates pointed to a location deep in interstellar space, far from any human settlement. Rachel volunteered immediately. She knew the mission might be a trap, knew she might never return, but she also knew this was humanity's only chance. If someone could learn the rules and bring that knowledge back to Earth, then maybe, just maybe, humans could find a place in the galaxy. She boarded a small, fast ship with minimal crew and supplies for a 6-month journey. As Earth fell away behind her, Rachel wondered what she would find at those coordinates. She wondered if the 11 captives were still alive, if they would ever see home again, if this entire situation could somehow be fixed. Most of all, she wondered if humanity's greatest strength, its stubborn refusal to give up, would be enough to survive in a galaxy where humans were late to arrive and ignorant of the rules everyone else already knew.